Well, good morning to you. Welcome to the Morning Brief. It's the weekend edition of the program. Thank God it's Friday. That's how we say it right here. And I'm sure that's how you say it where you are. Thank you so much. I'm Jeffrey Uzama.
And somebody is very happy that it's Friday. Good morning and welcome to the weekend edition. We're live, big and excited to bring you your perfect morning starter this morning. Welcome. I am Bukola Koka.
So, Bukola, what have you been tracking? I'd like to see what you've been tracking in the polity, because that's actually our job. What job do we have? To track what's going on in the polity.
Oh, quite a lot, Jeffrey.
Yes.
Of course, starting with that bill that, failed to scale through the House of Representatives, calling for a single term of 6 years for the president, for governors, and of course, which would have also ensured rotational presidency, which is a very, very, vexed issue in the country, which resurfaces now and again, particularly ahead of, general elections, when Nigerians go to the polls to make that decision of who will lead them, during presidential elections. I wonder if it is a missed opportunity, for the House of Representatives to truly make a decision that is representative, of the popular will of the people. And in line with that, some have been saying that, perhaps this should have gone to a referendum, such that it can reflect, what a lot of the things that the people are saying time and again. Well, relatedly, or maybe not relatedly, but if you relate it to, the issue of self-determination, the Finnish Nigerian Simon Ekpa has been arrested and amid calls for his extradition, with, the charge of public exhortation made on him. And I was looking at, what it means, what public exhortation means, and it is, a conflict of public comments made, within the public domain that is not necessarily, in line with what the public should know, and in fact maybe inciting the public. Well, whether that is a welcome development or not, but if you looked at the fact that even the leader of IPOB himself has been arrested and he's being tried currently, it hasn't resolved the issues in the southeast. There are still very big concerning issues of security, unknown gunmen, attacks in the southeast. It also shows that there's a need for that conversation with the people of the southeast. We must talk about the elephant in the room, the unresolved issues from Nigeria's nearly 3 years civil war, such that Nigeria can move on from that point. If Simon Ekpa were extradited to Nigeria or tried, will it resolve the issues in the southeast? Those are the very concerning questions this morning. If the arrest and trial of Nnamdi Kanu has not taken the southeast further, and the governors of the southeast should also be reflecting on this. I believe that that has been a very big issue of discussion between the southeast governors and the president as well, but there has been no concrete decision so far. I wonder if you have contrary comments this morning.
For me,
on
I
those issues.
just feel that the authorities should do what they should do within the ambit of the law. As far as the issue of Simon Ekpa is concerned, he's been accused of incitement, he's been accused of all of these things. But the bigger picture is actually to resolve the issue of the southeast. I know that Nnamdi Kanu, for instance, at least we hear, he says he's not responsible for the sit at home, but people like Simon Ekpa have been at the forefront. Even governors cannot stop it. So at the end of the day, whether he's extradited, brought to the country, tried, sent to prison, or whatever, or he faces the same fate that Nnamdi Kanu is facing, there has to be a time when the country has to sit down and look at the ideologies of these people and look at the way to resolve these issues. Whether it can be resolved once and for all, I do not know. But it's costing that region a lot. If they feel marginalized, feel alienated, there has to be a conversation in that direction. And it's a pointer to other ethnic minorities. They are even majority. So what now happens to ethnic minorities in the country? So at the end of the day, if the man has committed a crime from his incitement and destabilized, leading to the killing of people, well, he has to face justice. But the merit of the issues has to be brought to the fore.
Absolutely.
Nigeria is a great country. We cannot burn our country. We cannot bring it down there are other ways to agitate and all of that. So my simple take on this is, if he's found guilty, if he's extradited, because Nnamdi Kanu's case is one adjournment or the other, and all of this is causing more instability. If they bring Simon Ekpa back to Nigeria, is it going to be the same fate? Are we going to have like a closure eventually? So if bringing Simon Ekpa to the country and trying him and all that will bring closure. Whatever has to bring closure, depending on who is sitting on the table, let it happen as soon as possible so that region can feel a sense of belonging, a sense that they are loved by the Nigerian state and all of that, because the average thinking feels like they feel that they are marginalized given what they've seen over the years in terms of political position, inclusion, and all of this. And there are merits to this conversation. You cannot take that away. So we need to look at the issue. One of the problems we have seen with Nigeria is that I kind of know what is our problem, but we avoid the brutal honesty in our conversation. I think it is time in going forward after 64, going on 65 years, that we need to start having very, very uncomfortable and unsettling conversation. If that is what will bring peace and keep Nigeria one, then it's inevitable. That brings me to the issue of a single term, Bukola, that was kicked out of the House of Reps yesterday. I kind of knew that would happen. I always say it here.
We saw it coming, right?
I always say it here. Nigerians must, I'm sorry, but politicians don't think like you. They don't reason like you. So that bill may have all the merits because there are two parts to it. If we now do 6-year single term and the person becomes a disaster, we have to endure the single term, because this National Assembly, they're not cut out for impeaching anybody. It's not a thing here to impeach presidents. It's going to cost. I don't know whether we are mature to that level. Governors can be impeached and all of that. But when it comes to presidents, even the courts is afraid of touching it. So if we do 6-year single term and we're not fortunate to get a good leader, we have to get stuck with the person. On the other hand, there's also the issue of 4-year or 8 years at the end of the day that gives you opportunity to kick somebody out. But if the person is now a good person, whether 6 years or 4 years is inconsequential. So some people are saying, give the person 6 years because of the sensitivity of the Nigerian people, so that we know that after 6 years, the North has served. Another 6 years, the South will serve. We just rotate and micro-rotate. There are merits to the conversation. I've seen part of the bill, Bukola. There are merits to the conversation. But it's now who is arguing for what. But where I was talking about the political implication of the conversation is the fact that some politicians are already looking at it now. If we take this law and listen to it, implement it in the Constitution, what happens to maybe President Bola Tinubu? He has just served 2 years of a 4-year term. He will likely run again for another 4 years. So at what point should we implement? Those are the political considerations that, of course, can hamper all of this. So,
those who are afraid of President Bola Tinubu and afraid of making difficult choices, and would rather go the way of politics, are not also thinking with the benefit of hindsight. They're not looking at the future beyond the issue of rotational presidency, ensuring that it goes round to the north and south and then to the different geopolitical zones. There is that more important conversation about whether or not you can deliver the goods within 4 years, within 6 years. The morning shows the day. At the onset of an administration, you would know, what the end would look like already. So there are governors, there are presidents that have failed to deliver on the promises that they made with all of the enthusiasm in the world.
A lot of them failed.
They failed in 8 years. So what can be done in 8 years, I believe, can be done in 4 years. Exactly. And 6 years is overtime for anyone to deliver on the promises as far as the economy is concerned, as far as uniting the people is concerned, as far as unity, uniting the Nigerians and giving them a sense of being Nigerian rather than being, from a part of the country. But development is at the heart of this conversation, and that is critical to the choices that the elected representatives should have made on behalf of the Nigerian people.
So again, legislation in Nigeria has to do with a lot of timing. I don't know what that is. So, Bukola, I'm just saying all of this is to be real as much as possible, so that when you're putting out a law, a proposal, you look at all the considerations on the table. But there is a merit to that conversation, which I think may have to be revisited someday, somehow. I wanted to add to the fact that we have seen governors 8 years, and they are total failures.
And the states remain like villages.
They failed. We won't call names, but as they are watching us now, they know themselves. They failed. They should never have been local government chairman. They know. But we won't call their names. We'll spare them today so that they will not take me to court. Okay, let's get to what we'll be talking about today on the program. One of which is we had a conversation about the transfer of regulatory powers from the NEC to the SEX, that State Electoral Regulatory Commission. Well, NEC is here to respond to all of the things that were said, because a lot of things were said against them in terms of their capacity to do their work. So what does this mean for the Nigerian people? The regulatory authority called NEC is now transferring that power to the state. And there are legal implications, there are operational implications and all of that. But people are wondering, if NEC couldn't do some of these things, how can the states do it? That's a big question. So it's a right of reply for NEC to come and respond to some of the allegations and some of the things leveled against them. Even the EFCC boss says, if you know what's going on in the power sector, you will cry. They will be here to answer their questions.
Yes, indeed, today. And we'll go light on hard issues by visiting Nollywood, or if you like, Nollywood within the precincts of Hollywood, as writer, screenwriter, director, producer, and actor Abesi Akami joins us today on the show to share her exciting experience in the movie industry, and of course, being a Nigerian, resident in America, also making giant strides in that regard. So we'll be looking at her new movie and, of course, all other related issues within Nollywood with Abesi Akami.
All right, that's not all. It's Friday. Yeah, we're back to our fitness, our workouts. You know how we do it on Fridays? Yeah. Oh, I've seen this picture before. I'm in shock. That's me, you, Kylie. Okay. Our coach will be right here to walk us through what we have to do in terms of physical activities so that we can be as productive as possible. It's a Friday edition of the program, so get your workout gear ready and the mats ready so that you can join us at the end of the show. Let's have fun together on the program. And don't forget, yes, I'm sure you're wondering why Kaide is not here. Well, he's unavoidably absent. He'll be returning to the show on Monday. But do remember that you can join us on social media, our social media of choice. CTV Morning Brief is how you get to us. Share your thoughts and your insight, your videos and your messages. We'll be here to amplify it. But we'll take a quick break. When we come back, it'll be time for our top stories. Well, top on the brief this morning is the Senate's approval of the 1.77 trillion naira request, request of President Bola Tinubu's for a budget after a voice vote in favor of that particular request. The upper chamber, presided over by the Deputy Senate President, Barrow Jibrin, approved the loan after the Senate Committee on Local and Foreign Currency, chaired by Senator Wamako, presented the report of the committee. The request, which was submitted by the President on Tuesday, is part of a fresh external borrowing plan to partially finance the 9.7 trillion naira budget deficit for the 2024 fiscal year.
Key benefits: addressing critical projects under 2024 Operation Act. 2. Supporting the debt management strategy to reduce borrowing costs, extend debt maturity, and ease domestic market pressure. Borrowed funds will drive economic growth and stability. The committee urges the Senate to approve this request to enable the effective financing of 2024 budget and support Nigeria's long-term economic growth.
This should have been something that would have taken longer time. They show sacrifice, people show sacrifice for the interest of the country by working around the clock to make sure that you get everything done. And not only done, but properly done. Those in favor of the report as submitted by the chairman, local and foreign debt, please say aye. Aye. Those against say nay, the ayes have it.
Well, we're not done with the National Assembly. Just next door, a bill for an act to alter the provisions of the Constitution to create a single term of 6 years for the office of President and state governors has failed in the House of Representatives. The bill, sponsored by Kenga Oguchinre, sought to recognize the division of Nigeria into 6 geopolitical zones, provide for the rotation of the office of the President, state governors, and chairman of local government councils among the inherent zones and region. The bill also sought to make possible for all elections in the country to be held in a single day. And away from that, 3 persons have died as a result of a clash between farmers and herders in Dogondutse community of Nasarawa State. The police in the state, while disclosing the incident in Lafia, the state capital, added that the police are working with the community to apprehend those responsible for the clash and ensure that they face the law. He also urged the residents to continue to collaborate with security agencies to ensure improved security in the state. The ACF, who gave that release, suspended. Okay, that's it for as far as that particular story is concerned. Let's also tell you that the Arewa Consultative Forum has suspended its national chairman, Maman Usman, for making what he describes as an unauthorized statement concerning the 2027 presidency. Mr. Usman had earlier said during the ACF National Executive Council meeting on Wednesday that the North will back a northern candidate for the presidency come 2027. However, in a statement by the chairman of the Board of Trustees, Bashar Dalhatu, and Secretary General Maltala Aliyu, the forum says the statement were made by Usman without consulting with other leaders and members of the ACF and thus reflected his personal opinion. The governor of Edo State, Mondo Okpebolo, has set up a 12-member committee to recover all belonging to the Edo State government, which are said to be in private hands. The governor gave the committee 2 weeks to deliver on his mandate and ensure that government vehicles are fully recovered and subsequently returned to the state government. The chairman of the committee, Kelly Ogumboga, expressed the readiness of the committee members to carry out the task effectively. Well, Finnish authorities have arrested pro-Biafran agitator Simon Ekpa on charges of alleged terrorist activities. The Finnish National Bureau of Investigation says it has requested that Ekpa be remanded on suspicion of public exhortation for an offense committed with terrorist intent. Mr. Ekpa is charged alongside 4 other persons on suspicion of financing a terrorist offense, according to a statement by the Finnish police on Thursday. And that was quite a conversation, especially on the social media. The president, Bola Tinubu, says Nigerians are now seeing the positive result of his administration's reforms, receiving the managing director of the International Monetary Fund, Christina Georgieva, on the sidelines of the G20 Leaders Summit in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Tinubu assured that his administration will continue prioritizing the welfare of the poor and most vulnerable, even as economic reforms bear fruit.
Right here, she congratulated the president and specifically mentioned that the reforms are working and that they've seen the impact of the reform on the economy. Now the economy is now beginning to rebound. We can see some growth happening. You know, like we all know, it's going to take a little bit of time, but as soon as all the reforms take root, the harsh economic environment and the suffering of the people will be a thing of the past. And that's what we're committed to. IMF will always give you advice, especially for low-income countries and vulnerable middle-income country. We're a vulnerable middle-income country. And you know, the reforms that we've instituted have even made us even more vulnerable. And the IMF advice is not detrimental to the economy. Where you see countries that have followed the IMF advice strictly and followed it according to the advice, they always come out better. And yes, I understand the negative perception, but now we've instituted the reforms on our own. We didn't even do the reform based on IMF advice. We started the reform and we felt this was the best way to go for our economy to survive, for us to benefit maximally from government policies and incentives. We had to remove those subsidies. Now we've done it on our own. And the IMF is saying, now you've done the reform, so if we're going to support you, we're not asking you to do any more reform because you've already done the reform. So we're now here to support you because you've done the reform on your own. How much more can we now give you to stabilize your economy and for the people, the citizens, to feel the impact of these transformational policies and reforms that we've instituted?
Oh, well, shout out to the international scene. We know that came from the international scene, but however, that was Nigerian content. But let's tell you that the International Criminal Court has issued an arrest warrant for Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, as well as Hamas military chief Mohammed Deif. The ICC move now theoretically limits the movement of Netanyahu, as any of the courts of 124 national members will be obliged to arrest him on their territory. These allegations have been denied by Benjamin Netanyahu and Israeli authorities. Israel also confirmed in early August it has killed Deif in an airstrike in southern Gaza in July, but Hamas hasn't confirmed that. However, Hamas has denied of his death. Let's talk about sports. Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola has extended his contract with the Premier League champions for a further 2 seasons. There had been speculations that the 53-year-old City career could be coming to an end, with the club facing uncertain future due to an ongoing hearing over 100 breaches of Premier League's financial regulations, while also being on a 4-game losing streak. Yet in an interview with the club's media channels, it says the club's current position had led him to change his mind. So those are the stories we've been tracking for you in the last 24 hours and the early part of today, and it will form part of our conversation on the program. But let's get to what you have been talking about on social media, that is X. Bukola joins me now to bring us up to speed. Bukola.
Yes, indeed. Hello again, Jeffrey. Of course, you and I know that those issues that emanated from the House of Representatives and the National Assembly yesterday formed a majority of the talking points by Nigerians this morning. And we're starting with House of Reps approved the 1.77 trillion naira loan request of President Bola Tinubu. And country is the first user to writing. Country says, so what's the point of removing subsidy when we are still going to be borrowing anyways? I know the subsidy is deflected debt and not acquired capital, but why not keep borrowing and not put everyone, but why keep borrowing, I guess he intended to say, and not put everyone into this misery.
Obi of Ibadan says by the time they are done with us, everybody will own nothing less than 2 million to their name. I see the sarcasm, but it's okay.
Yeah, and Oladele is the next user. Oladele says, and this recent government didn't even tell what exactly they're doing with our revenue generation and the money generated from crude oil and other businesses. Laugh out loud. All they could do is to show the newly amounting money has been approved to be borrowed. Well, that speaks to accountability.
We don't want to talk about the National Assembly yet on this one. Narrowscope says the loans keeping up, and once acquired off the back of this approved one has not evidently materialized. The subtotal of these loans is an onus on governance moving forward, and Nigerian economy is still in shambles. Hope this loan won't be another sorry plight to the economy.
Yeah, and Jeffrey, you were telling us a few days ago how much we may have saved on subsidy. If we have saved that much on subsidy, why are we still borrowing? And indeed, there's a report that Nigeria has spent, is it 42 trillion, a couple of trillions of naira on petrol importation in 42 days, and we have a homegrown refinery, yet we're spending so much on importation.
And I think one of the things I would advise the government, now they have an avalanche of spokespersons and media people, including now Daniel Buala. And I agree with Professor Kechukwu. He said something, and I kind of agree with him that when the president goes to tell IMF our reforms are yielding results, it upsets Nigerians because of their daily reality. When the Minister of State for Finance now, who was the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, is saying that we've implemented these reforms, IMF said you've already done it, we're not demanding anything new from you, how can we help you? That means we're looking at borrowing, and we say begin to make it more like the reforms will take time, but don't worry, it's going to get better. It upsets Nigerians. I know the numbers they are looking at, but those are not the numbers Nigerians are looking at. And there are certain things that even if the city I ask them, I don't think they will be able to answer emphatically. However, going back to what Professor Kechukwu says, the government now has to communicate rather than information dissemination, because it appears, I agree with him, that it's more of information dissemination that is going on from the government. So people, they're not communicating. Anyway, let's go to another conversation.
There's so much to say,
yes,
on that one, but Jeffrey, let's move on.
Yes, reps rejecting bill seeking 6-year single tenure for president and the president or a president and the governors. EJ says a leader can make significant impact in 6 years. If implementing 6-year limit, I'll suggest starting in 2027, will prevent all current elected officials from running for office again. It may be worth considering. And
Big Icon says the best thing is to even reduce it to a 3-year single term and no chance for any second terms. So this guy is saying 2017. Somebody will say, what if Bola Tinubu wants to run again? Why didn't you introduce it in the time of Muhammadu Buhari? I'm telling you. So sometimes the timing of a bill is quite important because politicians will not look at it the way you're looking at it. Trust me. So much again to say, but let's move on. Big Econ says the best thing. Have you read that one? Yeah, go to George. Okay, George said the rejection isn't about a bill, it's about holding on to power. A 6-year single term couldn't have been a fresh start, but systems are afraid to let go. The status quo wins again. Well, let's move on to the next talking point now, which is from aviation. The minister has unveiled airport marshals to enhance service delivery and maintain cleanliness. And Ademos is the first user who says he should first open the road they blocked at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport that has caused unnecessary traffic every day. So there are other issues that Nigerians are demanding attention for. Yeah, go ahead. Okay. The poetics says commendable, but would they really do what they are supposed to do? Won't one of them call a friend and be like, we're visiting tomorrow? Is that sarcasm that I hear? I don't know. Well, so as they say, let's give it a try. Some marshals will still inform the airport authorities that they're coming for impromptu visit, just to be paid peanut. You have the next one. Yeah, D-Master Don. That's a good development, but those special marshals, I hope they keep their duty, not the other way. So you can see the trust quotient is really, really bad. This may be well intended, but Nigerians still don't trust it. Let's talk about Simon Ekpa, the agitator that has been arrested in Finland and perhaps maybe extradited back to Nigeria. We don't know how this will play out. This is what Olayinka is saying. When you think you're untouchable because you're in another country, why not come to Nigeria and get the referendum instead of wasting innocent lives that are here wanting the same thing? And Super Mabel said, extradite him to Nigeria to face terrorism charges. He's a criminal and should be treated as such. Well, let him go to trial, let him be convicted. Yes, allegedly. Then, so that's what the law says. Olusegun says he should be sent to Nigeria, please. We have acquired solitary for him at Kuje. I assure you that he will be comfortable there. Wallahi. Okay. So those are some of the talking points that we've had to review this morning. Of course, they will also be forming conversations in the coming days. But after this time out, we're starting off with our first conversation, and it concerns you. It's about electricity and, of course, your rights as a consumer. Are your rights being protected? And, of course, all other implications as far as government policy is concerned. So that will be the first leg of our conversation, and we urge you to join us. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Nigerians have not gotten a report on energy refund.
So welcome back to the Morning Brief on Channels Television, and we're going to get to that later on. But that conversation on Monday, of course, elicited some reaction. So we're picking back on it with that report that the NERC is transferring regulatory oversight to states of the Federation. And we have joining us to provide more insight amongst other issues that were raised during that conversation that we had with Mr. Prince Wilukuri on Monday. We have joining us Mr. Dafe Akwene, is the Commissioner, Licensing and Legal of the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission. Good morning and welcome to the program, Mr. Akwene. I hope I got your name correctly. Pardon me if I did not.
Good morning. It's Dafe Akwene.
Okay, Mr. Akwene, thank you for joining us on the program. So we want you to clarify first of all, what this transfer of regulatory oversight, forum offices to states, what exactly means for the management or the regulatory of electricity markets for Nigerians.
Okay, good morning, and thanks for the question. I think an appropriate legal background is required to set the tone for why we're here. Last year, the two major pieces of legislation that affects the Nigerian electricity supply industry came into force. The first happened in March 2023, with the assent into law by President Muhammadu Buhari of the amendment of the Constitution, the schedule to the Constitution that grants unfettered powers to states to establish and regulate electricity markets. What this did was we took out the proviso that existed in the 1979 Constitution that placed a restriction on states on areas not covered by the national grid. So that restriction was taken out completely in the amendment to the Constitution that was signed into law last year. Then in June last year, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the very first piece of legislation he signed into law upon becoming president was the Electricity Act. The Electricity Act repealed the old Electric Power Sector Reform Act that we had used to superintend over the sector since 2004. So what happened with the amendments is now you have a framework whereby states can now establish electricity markets and regulate those electricity markets by virtue of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But because the National Assembly recognizes that, wait a minute, the states now have the power to regulate an area that is currently being regulated by the federal government, there has to be orderly transition. So under the new framework, the federal government is responsible for one, electricity generation from Nigeria to outside Nigeria, or from one state within Nigeria to another state within Nigeria. The federal government is responsible for, the federal government is responsible for electricity generation and transmission only. The federal government is responsible for damming rights, anything that has to do with damming of power. The federal government is responsible for electricity generation, transmission, and distribution from one country, from Nigeria to another country, and other ancillary things. States are responsible for, one, have powers now for electricity generation, transmission, and distribution within the states, and that without restrictions that existed previously. So having that in mind, you need to have a regime for orderly transition. And Section 230 of the Electricity Act puts in place the requirements by which these powers will be transferred from the federal government, from being overseen by NERC at the moment, to the states. And Section 230 of the Electricity Act says the states must do the following. First of all, you must establish an electricity market. Secondly, you must create an independent electricity regulatory authority that will be responsible for the regulation of that market. When the state does this, the state now issues a notice to the commission saying, the state has established a law to regulate the market. We now have a regulator. Upon receipt of that notice from the state, the commission is mandated within 45 days to issue an order directing the DISCO that serves that area within that state to incorporate a subsidiary and transfer the assets and liabilities and staff that will be responsible for the distribution of electricity to end-use customers in that state to that subsidiary. And when that is done, the commission has 45 days to do this, and within receipt of that notice, right, the commission has, when the process starts, there's a 6-month window by which it is completed. And when the process has been completed, the commission no longer has jurisdiction over the intrastate matters that are now overseen by that state regulator. And the state regulator, the licensee, the law is clear that the subsidiary that has been established in the state doesn't pay any licensee fees or anything to the central regulator, but to the regulator established by the state. Now, and we've received 7 notices from states so far. The first 3 were Enugu, Ekiti, and Ondo. Then we received for Imo, Oyo, and Edo, and Kogi. We've completed the process, we've issued all the requirements and completed the process for the first 3 states, being Enugu, Ondo, and Ekiti states. The subsidiaries have been established and the transfers have been completed. With the transfer being completed, the Commission no longer has jurisdiction over local distribution matters in that state. And an ancillary output of local distribution matters is dealing with end-use customer issues on service provisions by the discos, and which is why the forum offices in those states have been closed, as we have transferred regulatory oversight to the regulators established to regulate those 3 states.
All right. Maybe we'll just bring you up to speed with some of the reasons why we needed to put this conversation together in terms of a right of reply. Some of the things you've explained sounds quite brilliant at surface value when you listen to the whole, what do you call it, decentralization of the energy or power sector. But let's go back to the inefficiencies allegedly of NEC itself. That was raised by Mr. Okorie. Perhaps we'll be throwing out some of the things he said so that you hear it directly from him. And he's alleged a couple of things when it comes to how NEC has managed its affairs. But as an overview, if the situation we found ourselves in terms of electricity generation, distribution, and even electricity generation, transmission, and distribution, this is where we found ourselves. And NEC has not been able to defend the people the way they should defend, and you will speak to that in just a moment. Is NEC confident that the state can be able to do better?
Okay, thanks for that question, Jeffrey. I'm an appointee of the federal government and appointed to a central task. We should bear in mind that Nigeria is a country of laws, and the laws govern our interpersonal relationships and what we do. The law in Nigeria today states that the states have powers to establish electricity markets and regulate those electricity markets. The states also now have exclusive powers over distribution, because if you read the Constitution, right, distribution in the concurrent list, distribution lies within the ambit of the states and not the federal government. So, stricto sensu, the federal government would only have jurisdiction over the FCT until such a time as a regulator is appointed for the FCT specifically. So, with the states having those powers, it is for the states to exercise. And I think every Nigerian comes from a state, right? I'm a Nigerian working for the federal government, but I'm from a state. As with my other colleagues who are commissioners in NERC, we're all from various states. So I think the states have the capacity. And as we speak today, the team from Oyo State, they've issued us a notice. They are currently spending the week in the commission understudying what we do so that they can take this back. Before coming to the commission, they've been to Ghana. And before going to Ghana, they had an 11-week intensive training program with an international regulatory body. So they're preparing to do this, right? NERC was established in 2004. We weren't regulating electricity. Electricity business was run by NEPA before the coming into being of NERC. And with the coming into being of NERC, the commission had to build capacity and learn and grow. So the same thing is going to happen. The states are going to build capacity, learn and grow. And the benefit the states have is that they have a NERC that they can learn from. And they can see, okay, this is where NERC made mistakes. We will not repeat the mistakes NERC made. And these are the good things NERC has done, and we'll build upon the good things NERC has done. And the law also mandates us to have a forum of regulators that comprises of NERC and all the regulatory bodies for all the states. So there we will share best practices, do peer reviews, and assist each other on how we achieve the end goal of electricity for all Nigerians.
Perhaps I should put Jeffrey's question in proper context, stemming from our conversation with Mr. Okorie. And we're going to get to other things that he said that we want you to listen to and respond to. But some of his reservations are to the effect that as the Commission put in place a consumer enumeration data for the states, to deploy as a structure within which to manage the market in the first place. He also talked about how complaints from consumers go on and they do not get redress. And sometimes they are referred to the NEC forum, which is not resolved. And even when they are not resolved, there are very little options for them to go to court. That if the NERC at the federal level has been unable to manage consumer complaints, how can states do that? And he also talked about how discos are empowered, to take a consumer who has erred in law to court, but there's no fair balance, for the consumer to do the same. So I would like you to respond to some of these issues as raised by Mr. Okorie as far as consumer rights are concerned.
Okay, so thanks for that question. So the Commission has a customer protection regulation, which we consolidated and codified last year, putting all the regulations on customer protection into one. And we have a customer complaint handling procedure that states the mechanism and process by which a customer must follow to get redress from a disco. The first being that you have to lodge a complaint at the disco's customer complaint unit. And if the disco doesn't respond within a specific time, you can now approach a small mediatory or arbitration tribunal called the Consumer Forum. The Consumer Forum is made up of 5 members from different backgrounds appointed by the Commission to have an initial look at the complaints. And on that panel, you have a member a nominee from the Nigerian Bar Association, a nominee from the from NSC or COREN, someone from FCCPC, someone from civil society, like that, and they have a presiding member that serves as the chairman of that body, and they hear complaints from customers, and there's a time window by which these complaints must be redressed. And if the complaints aren't redressed adequately, there's an opportunity to escalate to NERC, which is the central body. So with the complaint resolution, yes, that process has been on for a while. As with all issues, I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it's worked. And can it work better? Yes, it can work better. So it's that process is now being transferred to the states. And with what we see at state level is, what do the states do better? One, the state government is nearer to the people than the federal government. States collect state taxes better, right? States know how they are closer to the people, they see the people. And I do not see any challenges with states building the capacity to assume this responsibility and to assume it effectively.
If I may comment. Just a moment, my apologies, if I may comment. So I think we need to be clear on what we're trying to ask you so that we will build the case. forget the transfer of these responsibilities to states. Let's stay with NEC as it is. You have mentioned the mechanism on how consumers can lay complaints and get it. Maybe that's where Mr. Corey was saying 15 days, you have that forum, I mean, you adjudicate or, sorry, you arbitrate or some kind of trying to resolve the issue. How does the discos themselves, how do they now, if a consumer commits an offense, is it the same process? I want you to speak to the process of when it is the consumer that commits the offense, so that we know whether there's a balance in legislation or there's a force there. Also tell us the level of success rate of this complaint resolution that we talked about. How successful has it been? Because we've seen situations where people are migrated on solicit. They didn't solicit for migration, they are migrated. You guys said put them on ban A and give them 20 hours. People don't see those 20 hours. And people get exhausted with some of these complaints. So my strict question is, as simple as it can get, you have explained how the citizens can lay their complaints, but when the citizens commit an offense, how should the discourse respond? And the success rate of the citizens complaining to you, how has it been? Let's leave the state for a moment. Let's stay with NEC.
Okay, so thanks for that. The complaint process has gone on well, and the resolution process, we've seen quite a few complaints that have gone unresolved by the discos. And when that happens, there's an escalation to the commission, and the commission steps in to ensure that those complaints do get resolved. And you made reference to, is there a balance between the offenses committed by the customer and offenses committed by the disco? We need to bear in mind that what the customer does is different from what the disco, there are different complaints, but you see, we always try to ensure that there's a balance and we're fair, which is what the Electricity Act requires that we do. So when you look at, okay, a customer has been disconnected without due process, a customer has been billed inappropriately, right? There are measures in place by which those are addressed. But where a customer bypasses a meter, or there's been an unauthorized access, meaning that you are accessing electricity supply in a manner that isn't authorized by the by the system, that requires an immediate response. So you need to look at the various complaints and the instances, right? And for each one, there are processes that the regulations provide on how these are treated.
I'm going to stay on that question. And the bigger one is the fact that they promise 20 hours for Ban A, and they consistently fail, and people complain. So how does NEC react to all of this? Because that's actually a big question, so that we don't have this straw man argument as to extremes, to let go of one and hold the other. When it comes to power distribution to the people who need this power, there were promises. That's why we migrated you to Ban A, and that's why we are paying more, because the sector needs investment, and all of the stories are being told. But they failed to fulfill these promises. Maybe you give us an example. Use a disco, for instance, because right now we're trying to build confidence in the people that NEC is doing their work, because people don't feel that you're doing your work.
Okay, so with regards to the migration order, as you said, the migration of customers from one band to another, or the downgrading of customers from a higher band to a lower band, isn't elective at the instance of the customer. There are certain parameters that must be met. And the Commission monitors the feeders that supply the customers, and the DISCO needs to make an application. Where the DISCO makes an application committing that, yes, we've made the investment to ensure that we can provide an average of 20 to 24 hour supply, which is the Band A requirement, on a specific feeder, that migration is done. And the order that we issued last year on the migration of customers puts in place certain standards that must be met, and for continued service on one where you're not able to meet the service requirements due to local issues. The DISCO must have a quick response team to ensure that they go in to address any local fault that is affecting supply in that to that area. And where the DISCO is unable to make that commitment for a certain window, right, those customers have to be downgraded to the appropriate band where for the supply that is being provided, and that's going on now. We should be mindful of the fact that the electricity value chain is a three-tiered value chain, whereby the generators are the ones responsible for generating power. There's the transmission company of Nigeria that wheels that power from the generators to the distribution companies. Distribution companies do not. So the distribution companies only distribute what is available on the grid. So where there are issues on the grid, you would have, the DISCO will not be able to meet those service requirements. So you saw what happened recently in northern Nigeria, where there was vandalization of some towers supplying power to the north. And there was no way any utility would be able to meet up any commitments due to those extenuating factors that happened. But that has been resolved now, and in areas where the commitments are being done, right, the Band A service is being provided, and where we receive complaints that the Band A service isn't being provided, customers are being downgraded to the appropriate bands.
Well, I wonder if that also, compensates for the, the disaffection of those who were migrated unsolicited. But even after that, they are not supplied the necessary 20 hours. And the unfair balance in the immediacy granted the DISCOs to be able to address their own grievances when a consumer, vandalizes a pipeline, as against the inability of the consumer, to seek redress when they have been unfairly treated by the DISCOs, must be addressed by the Commission. And I hope that the states are prepared to, take that up as well. But our guest on Monday also raised some concerns that we want you to react to. I have them listed, but we'd rather hear from Mr. Okori. We want you to watch this, and then you react to it when we come back.
Nigerians have not gotten a report on energy refund to those who paid for meter access provider, which was an initiative of NEC. NEC initiated network expansion investment policy. We Nigerians are not aware of the investment of consumers in the sector and then investment of the distribution companies. NEC approves OPEC and CAPEX for distribution companies. Nigerians are not aware of how these CAPEX and OPEX have been utilized by the distribution companies that NEC is regulating. Now, look at NEMCO. Okay, 2020, 59 billion was provided as a pilot scheme on the National Mass Metering Program, which the federal government said that 200 billion was earmarked for it. It will be implemented in 3 phases. The first phase of 59 billion that was shared to the 11 DISCOs in 2020. This year, 2024, what they've been able to pay back is only 7-point-something billion. Where is the rest of the money? And nobody hears NEC talk about this policy anymore. And then they want to abandon these things without explaining to Nigerians and now shifting to state electricity markets. Why will the state electricity markets work? Today, do you have consumer enumeration? How many consumers are paying bills in this country among the franchise areas of the distribution companies? None is done. So we cannot be jumping and celebrating state electricity market. Who will invest? Before you invest in state electricity market, you want to know what is the profit level you will make. How much do consumers pay as bills? How many consumers are metered?
So
the money that comes from unmetered consumers, where is it accounted for?
All right, Mr. Dafe, you mentioned issues about enumeration, meter access reports, network investment and expansion policy. NEC approves CAPEX and OPEX, as operational expenses and capital expenses for discos. It talked about the 59 billion that was released in 2020 and what has been paid back abysmally in terms of percentage return. All of this is raised some very strong issues. He raised other issues, but this one concerns NEC directly. Let's leave the NELCO for NELCO to respond.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm not going to join issues with Mr. Prince Olukorie. He's a Nigerian and is entitled to his opinions. We're entitled to opinions, but we're not entitled to our facts, right? So on the issue of customer enumeration, I joined the commission in 2017. And at that point in time, the reported customers database was reported at just over 6 million customers. As we speak today, the enumeration is an ongoing exercise, and there are over 12 million electricity customers in Nigeria today, end-use customers. So the customer enumeration exercise is being done, and the numbers, houses are being built every day, so the numbers keep increasing. So that's an ongoing, it's never going to be static. That's an ongoing exercise. There was an issue of refund for meters. So people who acquired meters under the scheme, under the MAP scheme, to be refunded through energy tokens when they vent. That has been done, and that is being done. An order was issued to the discos, and publications were made in papers showing that compliance had been done with that. On issues of OPEX and CAPEX requirements, that is an essential function that is exercised by the Commission and monitored seriously. In actual fact, because the discos are the only collection source for the entire value chain that feeds funds going across the entire value chain. We've even received complaints from the unions that, they are being strangulated and they're not allowed to get access to all their funds, because all the funds are being monitored closely, and what goes upstream back to fund the value chain is also being monitored. So active work is being done in all of this, and like I said, I'm not going to join issues, but the facts remain what they are. We may be entitled to our opinion, but we're not entitled to the facts, and that's what the facts are as at today.
Before we let you go, we'd like you to quickly also react to what Nigerians consider unfair increase in the price of electricity tariff as against what the Commission explains to be lack of liquidity in the market. And as we said earlier, Nigerians are also talking about not getting what they pay for in terms of value for electricity.
Okay, so I think the Honorable Minister of Power a few months ago showed a slide that showed the cost of power across Africa, right? Nigeria is one of the cheapest jurisdictions on that list in Africa, and we should bear in mind that the review that was done for Band A customers, the Band A customers in Nigeria today represent less than 15% of the entire customer population, right? Band B to Band E still enjoy a subsidy from government, so they're not paying the full cost of power, right? What the cost is. So the cost of power, there are certain factors that you put in place to arrive at what it costs to produce 1 kilowatt hour. And that's that's contained in the MITRE model. And all you look at the factors, and what goes into that model are the macroeconomic variables that affect the sector, right? What's the exchange rate, price of gas, available generation, and things like that. That's what goes into determining what the cost of power is, right? So the law states that yes, the commission must be fair to end-use customers, right? But must also, right, take cognizance of the investor and ensure that the investor is able to get a reasonable return on investment for efficient operations. So that's the balancing act that we play. And at this point in time, only a small segment of the entire population of customers in Nigeria are paying the cost-reflective tariff as at today. So that's what it is now.
All right. The electricity tariff rate being the cheapest for Nigeria, being the cheapest in Africa, may be relative. If we consider the other parameters of economic indicators in other African countries. We must anchor at this point, and we will definitely need to have you back on the program to clarify other issues. There are a myriad of other issues that we haven't touched on today, but we must thank you very much for coming on the show. We've been talking with the Commissioner, Licensing, Compliance and Legal for the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission, Mr. Daffy Akpene. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you.
And from here, we switch gears to the softer side of things. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. It's now time to talk about the creative sector. We like to talk about creative sector, and we try to bring in as many of the practitioners and professionals within that space. Today we have joining us actress and movie director Abesi Akemi. She joins us right here in our Lagos studio. Thank you so much for coming, Abesi.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really, really excited to be here with you all. Thank you.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm enjoying the Lagos weather. I like the heat, so I'm very well.
So how long have you been in Lagos?
This time around, just for this past month, I'm going to be leaving soon. I basically travel back and forth between here and the United States.
Okay, so you're based in the States?
I'm based here and there. So I'm both, I should say.
Okay, maybe you have to explain that. Where are you based? Let's be clear.
I'm based, okay, so when I'm in Lagos, when I'm in Nigeria, I'm in Lagos. When I'm in the United States, I'm near Washington, D.C. So if you're familiar, there's Northern Virginia is close to Washington, D.C.
So where is home?
Home is where the heart is. Where's home? Honestly, I feel like really home is Nigeria, to be honest with you, really. Whenever I come here, I just feel a sense of home, But my parents are in the United States.
Okay.
So, but Were
you born there?
No, actually, I was born in Germany.
Okay.
Heidelberg, Germany.
It's getting complicated.
It's all.
So do you speak German?
No.
So how do you feel being an international citizen? Do you feel sort of lost sometimes?
Yeah, I do. Maybe a little bit, but I'm very grounded in who I am. I know what my purpose is and what I'm doing. So I just travel. I'm here. I'm there. I try to be everywhere, but then I like to be grounded as well. So here's groundedness for me in some way. So
does it feel like, do you feel like, going back to what Bukola asked you, do you feel like a cultural orphan? So on one hand,
do you speak your local dialect?
She's not a U.S. citizen, perhaps, I don't know. And then you come to Nigeria, Nigerians are like, okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. It makes for an interesting conversation. So what I tell people is, I was born in Germany. I don't speak any German. I am Nigerian American, so I'm in between this gray area. And there's a lot of people like us. Nigerian people travel, right? Out for years.
Everywhere, by the way.
Everywhere, where you would think there wouldn't be. there's a Nigerian there. We're very enterprising people. So a lot of times, even when I'm in the United States now, and you're in these rooms and spaces, it's 9 times out of 10, if you're seeing another Black person, it will be a Nigerian person. So we're just everywhere doing lots of cool and interesting things. So again, I like it. I like being this, I think that even the term is like a third citizen type of person, where you have parentage coming from another place, but you're living in a country.
And you're born somewhere else.
Yes, and so it's just like a very, a mix, and it's a mix of experiences, which inspires a lot of what I do creatively.
And you know what you said about being grounded in who I am resonates with me when I think about your film, for which you won TIFF at the Short Aspen Fest some years ago. Still, Stolen Water Runs Deep in Nigeria.
Yes, Still Water Runs Deep.
Yeah, so that's about Nigeria.
Yes,
it's a story around Nigeria. I want you to share that with us, and the message, and you know what perhaps inspired that story for you.
Yeah, so I shot this short film in 2017, and so I brought a film crew, partially film crew from the United States. I was attending New York University at that time, and so we had to make a thesis project. And so I said, all right, it's now or never. I'm going to Nigeria. I'm going to film this in my family's place, in the village. It's safe, and people know me there, or they know the family name. So I had been inspired by this story because it was something similar that had happened to a distant relative. As it says in the film, that one of the lines in the film is that people leave Nigeria in search of greener pastures, or, you know, people may get involved into things, not the most positive things, and people can just disappear, and you don't really know what happened to them. And so that's the basis for the inspiration for Still Water Runs Deep. I wanted to tell a story about a father that kind of has this very machismo, very strong, typical of just my experience as well too, partly inspired by my family dynamics. And so I wanted to write a character that was very harsh, in a sense, I would say, but also loving, but doesn't really show that emotion with his family or children of that sort. So in the event of a child going missing, that's when we see this steely resolve start to break and then crack. So I was just very interested in showing this character study, and thankfully, a lot of people have received the film very well. It premiered at Toronto International Film Festival, and it won Best Student Short Film at Aspen Shorts Fest. And it's distributed by a French-German company, and it's available to watch on a few different platforms. And that was in 2017, so it's been some years that it's.
So when you do your movies, I know that you say it's not complicated, but you were born in Germany, you live in the US, you're from Nigeria, so let's leave it at that. With what bias, because we all have biases, do you look at your story? So, for instance, you're shooting this in Nigeria. When people want to shoot in Africa, they look at what they term apocalypse, famine, war, disease, and corruption. As though that's all we know and all we do, but we have very fantastic people, very fantastic places and landscapes. If you go to the US, for instance, there are loads of people that are homeless. There are loads of other things that you hardly see in films and portrayed. Using their soft power, they project what is their strength. But when it comes to us and they want to shoot our films right here, they want to look at the things that make us look at like a charity case. You get conflicted when you want to tell our story, to be forced into that prism, so for acceptance or otherwise.
Yes. So especially when I was doing this film, as I didn't grow up in Nigeria. So I was very, very mindful and careful that I don't want to just tell a story that doesn't feel authentic, that people can't really relate to, or it just falls very flat. Because me, myself too, I don't particularly like to watch those types of stories all the time about famine and those sorts of things. It just, there's a lot more to just the diversity that we have in film. And so how I stay grounded is through my family. So when I had the script, my uncle read it, my dad read it, my aunts read it, and it was just feedback on, okay, this is how you're gonna say this. This is what this is going to translate to in our language. This is how it's going to be done. So I feel that that was my line of defense and also my backbone going and shooting in my family's village. So yes, it's something that I take very seriously, telling authentic stories and knowing what my blind spots are. We're just all very diverse. So my family is from Edo State. That's different from somebody who's from the northern part of the country. So we're just a very diverse people. And so wanting to be authentic when telling stories, but then also not being afraid to go there too. At times, I understand that we do need to have stories about some of the social, economic issues that are happening in the country as well.
And speaking of diversity, you've since exited, or this is part of your storytelling ability. You're currently onto something else now. The sensational story of Seyi Ajayi, fiancé of Seyi Ajayi. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, so this is a great segue because this was I'm usually a very dramatic person. I just love to tell serious stories. And this one, The Incredible Sensational Fiancé of Seyi Ajayi, was a fun, comedic, what I like to call dramedy. It's a mix between a drama and comedy. That just kind of came and just hit me out of the blue, I would say, because again, I was used to doing drama stories. And it took me a little while to actually get on board doing it because I was thinking, okay, this is just going to be so much work. I don't have the money. But then through encouragement of the people around me, I finally said, okay, I'm going to do this and I have to raise some money and build a team. And we're going to do this story. So this one, again, is a short film. And it follows the story of a brilliant scholar who's known as Dr. Constance Mumi. And it takes place in this fictitious world. So it's inspired, it has a 60s type of vibe. It's very colorful, it's very bold, it's very vibrant. And so what happens in the story is that she's engaged to Seyi Ajayi. And she discovers after 8 years of their engagement that he is engaged to another woman. But the thing that makes the crux of it is that he announces this engagement on TV. So he doesn't really tell her. And then when they meet up, he breaks up with her. And so instead of her just saying, woe is me, so sad, she decides that, you know what, I'm going to go to his engagement and I'm going to take back my power by exposing him to his fiance and all these other people that he is a cheat. So it was, I'll definitely share the screener with you all if you're interested to watch.
We're going to go back to your projects, but let's go back. let's
right?
Yes, yeah.
We're going to talk about your project, but let's go back to your person in growing up. You were born in Germany. Let's go back to that part again. Because the reason I'm interested, it has a way, your formative years plays a key role in how you perceive the world in terms of worldview and all of that, and how you interpret the world and internalize the world at the end of the day. So where did you go to school? What were the challenges within that space? And what exactly, just walk us through that journey for a bit before we begin to ask for the questions.
Yeah, so again, I was born in Germany. I was there for a very short period of time. I was still an infant, a baby, by the time my parents returned back to the United States. And then from there, I went to school, primary school, middle school. I would say that a very big turning point for me was when my family moved from New Jersey to Virginia. And it was during that time that academics, I started this program called the IB program, and it was basically an international degree at that level for teenagers and kids. So that's where I started to meet all the other very academically minded students, rigorous, and I got to meet all of the people, I guess, who also come from immigrant backgrounds as well. And so there, during that time, I discovered in high school my love for film and filmmaking. I didn't really know what it was, but I was just like, I was making short films for school assignments, so they would give you a choice, you know. So I was very ambitious, and I would put together films to talk about, I don't know, biology, cell development, and those sorts of things. And I was like, okay, maybe I actually could do something like this. And so I went to George Mason University for communications, media communications, which was a great degree for me. But I knew that I wanted to go to a very prestigious master's program. So I was like, well, if I can't get to New York, if I can't go to Harvard or Yale, let me just do this small thing here for undergrad. So I went to George Mason University, got that degree, and I said, for my master's degree, I'm going to get what I really want to get, which is I want to get my degree in film. So I went to New York University, which is rated as the #1 film program, master's degree program in the United States as of like this year. And I went there, and then that's how I started making, of course, having to make more work. That's how I made my thesis film, Still Water Runs Deep, that I shot here. And through all of that, I look back, I'm truly grateful for everything that I've been able to accomplish. I've produced films in Senegal and Uganda, and just I've always been very ambitious, driven, wanting to do more, to learn more, and just really, I know it sounds cliche, but the sky is the limit. There's just so much to learn, and there's so much room to grow. So, and to your question, I had a pretty rigorous academic upbringing, and you all know, I guess, with parents.
Nigerian parents.
Yeah. So
Are they really Nigerian parents in the Nigerian parents sense? Do you know what I just meant? Do you know what I mean by that?
The Nigerian, say it again?
Are they really Nigerian parents in the Nigerian parents sense of being a Nigerian parents?
So I will say.
Do you get that?
Yeah. I mean, people have said that the Nigerian parents, the ones that have left Nigeria and are raising kids outside of Nigeria, are even tougher. People are surprised when I tell them that.
Oh, really?
Yes. People are surprised when I tell them that during the summers, my dad brought seeds from the village where he grew up to make soup, egusi soup. That leaf he took and he grew in the backyard. Almost every African parent in the U.S. has some form of a garden. So he grew those plants, and guess who had to pick them? Pick them, wash them, clean them, freeze them.
You.
Yeah. Yes, we did it. So people are like, oh, what did you eat there in the United States? Do you know what groundnut soup is? Do you know what egusi is? Do you know what okra soup is? And it's like, what do you think that we were eating? Of course. Yes. Oh, like my dad, actually, maybe I got the shorter end of the half of it. My dad is Nigerian, my mom is American. So that's how you get the Nigerian American. So my dad really pushed us, really. I mean, he is still to this day very, very academically driven, he wants me to get my PhD. I don't know about that though. I don't know about that. So yeah, I feel like people, they're tough.
Shout out to your father and your mother.
Yeah.
Your father is representing us, so I'm very comfortable with that because we don't play.
No.
Nigerian fathers don't play like that.
No, at all. I think, yes, but I kid you not, people are actually surprised that like, oh, you picked up this or this, but But for me too, there was also an interest.
Okay.
Okay, maybe I didn't have necessarily an interest as a kid to grow up picking leaves and, you know, washing them and cutting them and doing all those things. But I always had an interest in the culture. And then I also see myself as somebody who can help in preserving the culture. The things that I'm interested in, I'm hoping to bring it into film, write it into stories, just keep maintaining the culture, keep documenting, because it's very, very fascinating. And so I feel like a lot of people don't understand and know the value of what we have.
Let me give you the title of a movie, Egusi Virginia Branch.
Oh my goodness. That influence is evident in your own you know, academic journey. Your bio says here that you're a creative culture fellow at the Jacob Byrne Film Center. And of course, you've also received an MFA in film from the Tisch School of Arts at the New York University. That's correct, right?
Yes.
Amongst others. But let's go into, you know, the business of filmmaking proper now. Speaking of which, there seems to be a growing community of A-list Nigerian actors and actresses in diaspora. A lot of them have, you know, relocated. I want you to talk to us about this community and why it seems to be, you know, a bit difficult for them to break even into mainstream filmmaking in their communities where they are. You know, what we find is that every time there has to be an ambitious film project, they come back home. So you are there, you're based in New York, right? So tell us about the filmmaking community there.
Yes, so I love talking about this because there, as you said, there are a growing number of Nigerian hyphens, as I like to call them, Nigerian British, Nigerian American, Nigerian Canadian, and these people are, again, driven, have that mind of excellency, driving to do these, be in these creative fields. So Cynthia Erivo, who we just are seeing now, is in Wicked. We're seeing John Boyega, who was just here for AFRIF earlier this month. And so I think to your question, are you asking why are they not working here more? Or
why are they not working there more? You know, we see, what's her name now? The Kenyan American actress, you know, she seems to be growing in Hollywood. Lupita Nyong'o, growing in Hollywood, getting more roles. And we could mention quite a number of, you know, other African American actors, you know, growing there. But that is not necessarily the story when it comes to Nigerian actors who have, you know, migrated.
Okay, yeah, so I would say, I mean, we know that the Hollywood is very gate-kept, first and foremost. So it is quite difficult for someone, let's say for an example, homegrown talent here in Nigeria to now migrate and go to the United States, Hollywood. It's not even to say that they can migrate to Canada or the UK to do film work there. The industry, the well-known industry that we know is Hollywood. So they would want to go there. But I think people may not realize how difficult it is. So some of the big names that we see, like Uzo, and also you just mentioned Lupita, I mentioned Cynthia, there's John Boyega, there's David Oyelowo, there's those sorts of people. Yeah, those ones we're seeing, they are funneling through Hollywood. So Chiwetel, for an example, is based in the UK. And you see him doing a lot of work in Hollywood. And that's because that's where the industry is. So,
but those ones that you have mentioned were mostly born there, you know, so they are not necessarily migrants, you know, from home who have just settled over there.
But also too, it's still very difficult for them.
Even for them?
I would say so, and I think based off of their experiences, at the end of the day, there's still not as many roles for Black people in these spaces in Hollywood. Although we are seeing progression and progress, there's also, when we see progress, it sometimes can feel like we take 2 steps forward and then we take 5 steps back. And so, yeah, I would say that, interestingly, I think that a lot of people who are actors there who are Nigerian hyphens want to come to Nigeria to do work.
Really?
Yes, and I think it's one of those things where I say, like, we don't realize what we have here. Nollywood is the third largest industry in the world, and yes, it comes with the issues of any big industry that there is, but there's so many watchers. People are drawn to just, I don't know what you might call this, Nigerian bravado. People are interested in seeing and listening to the stories. And it's not just Nigerians in the diaspora, it's Africans in the diaspora. Okay. And people are catching on just in the way that we're seeing the explosion of Afrobeats music. So I think it means something for people, for people who are of Nigerian heritage abroad to come back home to now star in, to now collaborate with talent here. And it just means something special.
Okay, we're going to explore this conversation, but not today. We're totally out of time. But in 30 seconds, what are you doing next?
Yes.
What's up?
Thank you for that question. So
30 seconds.
Next is I'm developing this short film into a series. So people are asking, oh my gosh, it was too short. Yes, working on it. This was always supposed to be a proof of concept for a series, so 10 episodes. And myself and team, we would love to shoot it here in Nigeria and bring together a international cast and crew.
Okay. We didn't have a time to ask you, how does it feel to work with Nigerian actors and all of that? But Bessie Akemie, actress, movie director. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Absolutely. All right, we will take a quick break. When we come back, I hope you have your workout gear. Our coach is right here to help us out. And I'm here as well to do what I love to do. Stay with us.
So it's Fitness Friday. Welcome back, and we're all set to get into the drill. So what we're doing today is Kegel. Our coach is going to explain what that means. And of course, there's also some pelvic routine for us to get into the weekend mood. So let's welcome Coach Beauty of Beauty Spa and Aerobics. Yes. Coach Beauty, it's good to see you again.
I'm happy to.
So what is Kegel?
And I'm the assistant coach.
I don't envy some people today. I hope they do not break. Some people just by my far right. Okay, so Coach Beauty, what is Kegel?
So we are doing Kegel after kickboxing. Kickboxing is actually a martial kind of exercises that help to tone your core and keep you flexible and fit. It's actually a strength training kind of workout that really helps to keep you fit and helps to pull up your cardiovascular endurance while giving you that agility and smartness and strength.
That's big English. Can you simplify it? Just for big English.
Yes, you heard me now. You heard me.
For the audience.
The fitness benefits of what exercises does is what kickboxing does. You know now.
Yeah.
Now, Kegel is a different kind of exercises for the pelvic floor. Most people, as they're aging, they can't hold their bladder properly. Most of the time it just goes out. Incontinence, they are unable to hold it. So
that explains constant urine at night for some people?
No, not really.
Okay.
Not constant. We are not talking about urine. We are talking about being able to hold your bladder.
Okay.
Most people, before they get there, it has started dropping, which means your pelvic muscles are weak. Okay. So we all need to build and strengthen our pelvic muscles. Okay. Not just for strength and flexibility and agility. We also need it for matters in the other rooms. Don't worry, I'll tell you much about that when we start the Kegel. So I'm going to teach you where your Kegel spot is, where your Kegel muscles is. But first of all, let's start with kickboxing to help your flexibility and agility. So we can start with warm up. Let's start.
Okay, warm up.
Okay, let's start with warming up. Breathe in, and then you breathe out. Breathe in, and then you breathe out. Now you're just going to squat a bit squat. Good. And then come up. Now we're going to breathe in and breathe out. Just slide to the other side. Jeff? Yeah. Good. And then the other side. Buki, walk with us. Bookie, walk with us. Let's do the same side, okay? Now, take it forward and roll it back. Good. All right, now bring it forward. Just spread it out. Separate your legs properly. Bookie, that's good, that's good. Now, I'll need you to flex your knees. Bookie, no, the other knee. Okay. Flex it. And then now take your other arms down. No, Bookie, the other arm. The other arm. Beautiful. This one, right? Yes, you got it. You got it. Jeff, you got it. Beautiful. Now, let's change to the other side. Flex the other knee, the outer knee, and let it touch and slide. Beautiful. Yeah, this is actually good. Now, come up. Hold it there. Chest out. Inhale and exhale. Feel all the tiredness go away. Feel all the back pains go away. And out. Beautiful. All right. Straight to kickboxing. Jeff, are you ready? Bookie, you ready?
We'll try.
All right. So the first move is going to be legs out. Take one leg behind you.
Like this?
Yeah. Now your arm needs to be put in such a way as if you're going to punch someone, okay? Okay. All right? Now we're going to start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, and stop. That was very good. Beautiful. Bookie, you got that. Now, you see the leg behind. I'll need you to hold your arms this way and just take your knees up this way. So we're doing just 10 reps of that. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. That was really very good. You see, I'm not working you out today. So we're just doing variety so that you don't get bored. Let's put fun into it. Now, the other leg. Take the other leg backwards. Make sure your toes are there. Hold your hands as if you're going to punch somebody. Are you ready? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 5 more. 5, 4.
Let's switch to balance. I can feel my feet at the back end shaking.
Yeah. Okay. That was good. All right. Okay. Stop now. That was really very good.
I'm taking it easy. I don't want to look like I'm fighting.
Yeah. And then don't forget to always tighten your core. When I say tighten your core, I mean
abdomen. Yeah?
Your abdominal area. Okay. Make sure your posture is well aligned when you're doing this. Okay. Now the next one, Bookie. Okay. You're taking your knees up, arms out this way for 10. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. That was really very good. Bookie, breathe in. Jeff, breathe in. And breathe out. All right. Now here we go for kick. Kick. Now this is what you're going to do.
Okay.
The kick, you go 1, 2, okay? Kick and stretch it out.
Oh, okay. That's complicated.
You can. It's not. Just watch me. You take your knees up. 1, 2, kick out. 3, and punch.
Okay,
let's get it right. 2, kick out. Kick out.
Like that?
Yeah, and then you punch.
Punch in this direction.
No, you're punching.
Everything is the right. Left.
Yes, you're right.
Okay.
Left. Ready? 2, kick out, and punch. You got it. Bookie, let's see you get it. Okay. 1, 2, kick out. Kick out.
No, left, still left leg.
Same leg. Kick out and punch. Punch. Just one arm punch. It is easy coordination. Let's work on our coordination. Okay. Okay. Bookie, I know. I'm trusting you to get this right. All right. Okay. Ready? You go. 1, 2, kick out. 3, and punch. Again. 1, 2, kick, and 3. Go. 1, 2, kick, and 4. More. Bookie. 2, kick, and 5. Bookie. We are doing 8. 2, kick out, and 6. Go. 1, 2, kick out. 3, 7. One more. 1, 2, kick out. 3, and 8. That was good. You tried. You tried. You tried. Oh, Jeff,
I told you I came ready for this show today.
I didn't think Jeffrey would survive it, but he's doing good.
He's doing well. Yeah. Now we are doing for the other leg. What we did for this leg, we are doing it for this leg.
Okay.
Jeff. Okay.
Now it's 1, 2,
kick out,
3.
Kick. That's it. Bookie, let's see you get it. Okay. 1, 2, kick out, 3, and punch. No, Bookie, punch is where we are punching now.
Okay. Coordination.
1, 2, 3, go. 1, go. 2, kick out. 3 and pause. That's 1. 1, go. 2, kick out. 3 and pause. That's 2. 1, 2, kick. 3 and pause. That's 3. 1, 2, kick. 3. You can do it. 4 more to go. 2 and kick out. And 5. 1, 2, kick. We have 2 more to go. Kick out. Last one. Let's go. 1, 2, kick. Beautiful. That was good. That was
taking all of my energy.
That was really
We're just getting started.
Okay.
It's easy. It's quite easy. Okay. Now the last one. Then we'll
Calm down,
go. Okay.
Don't rush.
Now you take your knees up and kick out. Okay.
Okay.
Wow.
This knees up. And then this is kicking out. Make sure your arms are here. Tighten your core. Let the power come from here. Bookie, you ready?
Yeah.
Ready. 1, 2, 3, go. Up and 1, go.
Okay.
Up and 2, go. Up and 3, go. Up and 4, go. Up and 5. Beautiful. You got it. 6, 7. Come on, Jeff. 8. Come on, Jeff. Your good arm. 9.
Oh, okay. I wasn't looking at the arm.
Jeff is doing Port Harcourt burger.
I wasn't looking at the arm.
Jeff was doing. Okay, Jeff. Now I need your hands. Because that's where you can tighten your core. Now the other leg. Ready? Bookie, you ready?
This leg now. Okay.
Yeah.
Or this one.
No,
I think
this one is taking up.
This up.
And
this
this
kick.
I've been on this one.
No, you're taking this knee
No,
up
this.
now.
Okay.
Up.
And
This.
kick. All right. Bookie, ready?
Yeah.
1, 2. Let's do this faster. 1, 2, 3, go. Up and 1, go. Up and 2, go. Up and 3. Come on. 4, 5. Tighten your core. 3 more. 2 more. 1 more. Very good. Now,
What are you doing?
I got it, Jeffrey. No, I got it.
I got it now.
Now take it up. Okay. Cool down. Breathing. Take it up. Up, up. Chest out. Good. And roll down. Pull back. Good. All right, come up. Place your hands behind this way and back. Good. Now take these other arms. Jeff, no, you're checking out too much. Okay. Jeff, calm down.
Like that?
Yes, you got it. The other side, the other side. Bookie, well done, you got it. Beautiful. All right, now let's go on floor for our Kegel. Kegel.
This is easier for women, no?
Jeff, calm down. You have to do this one.
No, this is easier. It's easier for women to cross their legs. Like that. I would do yoga.
Yes. Now back to Kegel. Like I said, it's ideal. Everybody needs to work on their Kegel muscles. The reason you need to do that is because over time, the Kegel muscles, your pelvic floor, seems to start getting weaker as you age. So if it's not strengthened enough, your old age is going to start having serious health issues. So you need to work. Men and women need to work on their Kegel muscles. Your pelvic floor needs to be strengthened up. Now, how do you detect where your Kegel muscle is? Your Kegel muscle is located in between the anus and the frontal private parts. In between your anus and the frontal private part. The whole of that floor is your Kegel muscles. Now, how do you detect your Kegel muscles? Pretend as if you're passing out urine, and then you now want to hold it in, as in you want to stop the flow. You hold it in. Jeff,
okay.
Bookie, okay. If you can detect your Kegel.
But we don't hold urine too long because of our kidneys.
But please, if you have a full bladder, you must not do Kegel exercise.
At all. Please.
So you need to empty your bladder before you do your Kegel exercise.
That's very important.
Bookie, do you feel like going? No.
No.
Jeff, do you feel like going?
No.
Nobody feels like going, so we are out to the task. If you're at home, if you feel like going, go before we do this, all right? All right, so now you're going to hold in your Kegel muscle as if you're stopping flow of urine. When I say hold it in, when you squeeze it in, you feel a jack from in between those muscles I explained. You feel a jack in as if it is sucking in. So now let's go.
We have just 1 minute, I'm told.
No warming. We are just doing it for like 10 counts. Are we ready?
Yeah, we're 10 counts.
Jeff, ready?
Yeah.
Hold it in. Go. 1, 2, 3. Hold it in. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and release it. That was really fantastic. Now, ideally, we say you do this anywhere, any day, anytime. That is, you don't give excuses. Don't say you need to go and put on sportswear. Right in your office, you can do your Kegel. But make sure you do at least 5 sets of 10 reps. 5 sets. What we just did was 1 set. Yeah? So you do 5 sets.
Okay.
Every day. Try to make sure you do it. But make sure your bladder is not full. Okay? All right. Are we ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Final one.
Final one.
Yes, time. Yes.
Okay, now hold it in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, that was really very good. Well done. Now let me round it up for you this way. You see your Kegel muscle, for those that are married, you can actually do your Kegel exercises while doing the do, while digging deep. You understand what I mean? For couples, while having your sexual intercourse, you can actually do your Kegel. Just where during penetration, just hold it in, and it sends both of you to cloud 9 and beyond.
All right.
Thank you.
It's a morning show.
To wrap
It's
up
a morning
the
show. Children are watching it. All right.
Coach Beauty Musa is taking us through the drill this morning, Fitness Friday. And of course, you can continue with the fitness drills right where you are. But don't forget that we'll be back again same time next week with your perfect morning starter right here on Channels Television. Thank you for being our ideal companion. I am Bukola Koka.
Thanks for your company as always. Sunrise Daily is up next at the top of the hour. Bye-bye.